Hello there, my name's Chris, this is Becker's Models, and this was going to be a build review for the brand new Great Wall Hobby GWH 1/32 scale Flying Tigers Curtis Hawk, as you can see quite plainly here. However, I'm filming this after I've reviewed the kit, and yeah, I actually bought the kit. I was loaned this by my good mate Bill. He said, "Oh, Chris, have a look at it. What do you think?" And I thought, yeah, I'll have a look at it. It's sort of interesting. I haven't thought much about it. I knew it came out late last year, or very late last year. And yeah, I thought I'll give it a go. And I asked everyone, if you check out, I'll put a link up the top here. I asked at my last Talking Models segment, I said, "Oh, what kit would you like me to review next?" Being this one a great example of something really complicated, really complex that's starting to come out more and more. And GWH, they're a fairly new entrance to our hobby. Anyway, I am waffling because I got through about a quarter of the way through reviewing this, because I didn't even look at it. Bill gave me the kit, said, "Here you go, I'll look at it later." I opened the box, I started looking at the parts, I started looking at the instructions, and I just went straight to Bill, back to him and said, "Can I keep this?" And he said no, so I did this instead.
Almost there.
So yeah, I bought the kit. Well, I bought Bill a kit. I'm keeping this one. He's allowed me to keep this one. I am going to build this after I squeeze out a few other unfinished projects, because oh my dog below, this looks magnificent and it's right up my alley. I love doing my aircraft exactly like this, in flight, wheels up, pilot at the controls, and this kit is for me. So this is going to end up being just part one of a series of videos I intend to do. This one is just a plain review of the kit. I haven't started building it. I'm going to reserve that for a part 2 and 3 and 4 and what have you, of how I go through the kit and build the whole thing and put it in the air. So it's a bit of a long review, but it's well worth it. If you click on the description below, I've separated it into chapters. I go through the instructions, I go through all the parts, and I also do a conclusion at the end and explain to you why this kit's not really for a beginner. I would tackle something a bit simpler first, a 132 Hasegawa, for example. It's pretty much a Tamiya kit. If you don't want to read any more further into it, it's Tamiya, basically, but wow, I'm just super impressed. So enough of that, let's get straight into it and have some fun with this kit. If you're not familiar with the P40, made by Curtis, it was a pre-war design. I believe 1938 they first came out, and I think it was a development of a P-36. The P stands for Pursuit for US aircraft, so it was a fighter plane. But the way that this was designed, it was really good for low and medium altitude, and then because of the engine, the Allison engine, wasn't that good for high altitude. But it ended up, through all its variations, they made all different types. I didn't know this when I first started researching the kit, it was the third most produced single engine fighter of the US made, behind the P-47, the P-51. So that's really interesting. I've never had that much of an interest in the P-40. I mean, I know of it and it's got an interesting shape and so forth, and being Australian, I know that the RAAF, the Royal Australian Air Force, they use them quite extensively, and I believe, I forget what rank he got up to, but Caldwell, he was the top ace of the P-40s in different variants. So yeah, it's got a good history, it's got a very interesting history, and the subject that Great Wall Hobby have chosen was the first time it was used in combat, and that was with the Flying Tigers. As you can see here, Flying Tigers. And that was and it's very appropriate given what's happening right now around the world, that a bunch of Americans decided to volunteer before their country joined a war to stop an invasion of another country. I wonder where that might happen, say in Poland or somewhere else, to fight the Russians invading Ukraine. Anyway, let's not get into that. But yeah, it was a volunteer group. Look it up on Wikipedia. I'll put a link in the description below about the history behind the Flying Tigers. Quite interesting. But let's talk about the history of Great Wall Hobby itself before I go into it, because like I said at the intro, this is their first 32nd scale, or what we laughingly call man scale. I know it's a bit misogynistic, but whatever. It's, we call 1/72 Braille scale. I don't know what the 148 guys call themselves. Mediocre scale. Oh, I shouldn't say that. But that's where Great Wall Hobby had dominated in the last few years since they've started. They were really, really good at producing modern jet fighters, F-14, F-15, F-14, a few other sort of variants. and they're renowned for being extremely well detailed, extremely accurate, and yeah, they're a good entry to our hobby. So good on them. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the 1/32 scale one looks like. And you've probably heard enough of me waffling on about this, but let's just talk about one more thing, and that's why this. Why P40 in 132? Hasn't this been done to death? And yes, it has. Hasegawa, I'll see if I can put some kit box art and so forth up there. Hasegawa have done this. They've covered a lot of the later versions, the E, I believe, the N's and M's and F's. And then Trumpeter, they didn't do a B, but Trumpeter did bring out a B in about 2003. And yeah, you can still get it. It's still available. It's one of the early Trumpeter kits. If you're familiar with the turn of the century Trumpeter stuff, Rosie the Riveter went nuts on the surface. So there's a few parts of that kit that are just way over riveted because it's a flush riveted aircraft. And there's a few panels, like I believe this panel here, the access panel and the fuselage is raised on the Trumpeter kit, should be recessed. The engine's apparently pretty good. The cockpit's okay. It's good detail, it's good enough. The landing gear is apparently pretty good as well. Not that I care about landing gear. I'm a wheels up person, if you don't know that about me. I love aircraft and flight. And it's pretty cheap. So, why this thing retails for a lot of money. Close to 200 bucks, I think, in Australia. I mean, it's a real expensive kit. So is it worth it? Let's have a look. What do you get in the box? Well, first of all, the box is big and heavy. And I'll just do a quick little run around. You get a side marking there. You get reflection of my light in the camera. Then you get this real lovely, you can see how much detail's in here. We even got a seated pilot. We've got lots of detail. Oh, wheels up option. This is what made me interested in this. Yeah, upside down Miss Jane, if you don't know what that saying means, Google Mr. Squiggle, okay? Now, I haven't opened this before. Yes, I have. I'll tell a lie. I've opened it once to look at it and go, oh my God. So let's have a look. It's packed. Let me just upside down the box so I can put them away properly. All the parts are individually bagged. It looks like someone's already had a bit of a look. A couple of them are open already. They're stapled together. Okay, we get every single sprue, well, apart from duplicates. So that's a 2-for-1. Has got its own bag. And oh wow, that's a lot. How many are we up to now? That's like 10 sprues so far. It's just. Look at this, it just keeps going and going. And more, what is this thing? It looks like some sort of jig or something. So that's the engine, that looks amazing. There's more, oh my God. Okay, so we got wheels, we've got a seated pilot. Excellent, we've got individual slide molded exhausts. I mean, it just keeps going and going. And now we've got a box of 3D printed parts. Okay, so it's a limited option sort of gift. Okay, we've got the clear parts in a separate box. That's an interesting way to do it. It doesn't have any plastic covering, but it's in the box. And then we've got this 3D printed, I don't know what it is. It must be it's the barrels. Okay, interesting. So this is an advanced kit. I can already see a big thread of photo etch, so let's keep going. So that's a big, oh wait, that's too reflective. That's a lot of photo etch. And you've got grills for the engines as well. And then we've got, what's all this? We've got a little card. Okay, so it gives you a bit of, I'll show you that in a second. That looks really interesting. We've got multiple and beautifully printed decals. Have a close look at that. Canopy mast set, numbered canopy mast. That's fantastic. It just keeps going. Now, Hearns Workshop. Now that must be an addition Bill's put in. Hearns Workshop's a Australian-based hobby shop who are now doing a lot of 3D printing, and that looks like a 3D printed seat that he's included in there. Yeah, it is. Look at that. Beautiful. I'll have a close look at that as well. But wait, there's more. We've got magnets. Why are there magnets in here? Rare earth magnets. That's really interesting. Okay, and we've got a patch. That's pretty cool. I think you get your money's worth. We've got more. What's 3 instruction booklets? Okay, so that's the instruction booklet. With an amazing, that art is just fantastic. So we'll have a closer look at that. This looks epic. I can't think of another word for it. It's just like, Tamiya, wakey wakey. Okay, what is this? Hello. This looks like a full scale, that's 1/32 scale, colour Oh my dog below. Look at this Penny. Penny's just off camera there. She's huffing and puffing. My God. But wait, there's more. There's a second one. This is like an A. This is glossy A3 size. Holy hell, look at this. Can you see how big this is? I've got to zoom the camera out. Hang on. As far as the camera goes, but that's amazing. It gives you all the markings. And with my bad eyesight, that's just... wow. You can't go wrong. Why don't they do this in every kit? This is amazing. It's this beautiful colour. I mean, you'd put that up on the wall when you're finished. Bill, you're not getting this back, I don't think, mate. This looks fantastic. Like I said, I've only opened the box to go, oh yeah, it's full of stuff. Now that I've had a look inside, I want to see more and more and more. Shall we go have a look at everything individually? Let's get into it. I'm going to jump ahead to the instructions first before I look at the sprues, so I've got a bit more knowledge about what's going on with this kit. Now, I showed you before, you get this lovely little card, the 80th anniversary. That's a embossed, nice little card. It's a lovely touch. I mean, it must cost a bit of money to produce that, but it gives you a really good overview of what happened, what the Flying Tigers were all about, and so forth. So that's a nice, interesting keepsake you get there. I'll put that aside. Let's have a look at the instructions. It's a A1. Start that again. It's an A4, very thick and glossy booklet. As you can see it reflecting off of my lights, my soft lights. They're even reflecting. This is really interesting. I thought, oh, they've stuffed up. They've, the parts, it's coming away already. No, very smart. The outside of it is the sprue map. So you can have this separately. So you can have, there's your sprue map of all the parts in the whole kit. And that is separate to the instruction booklet itself, which starts on page 1. So you can be, what I normally do, I have a thing just off camera there. I have a stand that I use so I can have the instructions and I can look at them. So I can have this to the side to go, okay, where is the parts I'm looking for? I even just bought a sprue holder rack up there as well. So that's going to be handy for this project as we go along. So yeah, there's the sprue map. I'm trying to make the point here. That is very well thought out, and I must applaud Great Wall Hobby. Just turn that over, and you get a paint call out here. It's all done in Gunze and Vallejo, so you can convert those. They do give you a couple of federal standard numbers there to convert to, but that's not that hard to cross over to your favourite paints. Yeah, so that's really good, and its colour. Oh my God, this must have been so expensive to make. It's very high quality. I'm quite impressed. Shall we look at the instructions? Let's have a look. So, like any aircraft build, the build begins in the cockpit from the looks of it. And we've got photo etch seatbelts to start with, and then down to the, looks like there's sidewalls. I'm going to zoom in just to give you a bit better look at how well made these instructions are. They look pretty good so far. It's fairly clear. They give the color call outs on the instructions themselves, and they tell you, obviously that's for decals, whatever. The instructions are a sort of, they're 3D CAD renders that have just been printed on, so they're not an illustrative, they're literally from the computer, and so you've got to be a bit careful it doesn't get too jumbled. The font size is good, the parts, I can see the parts quite clearly. It doesn't have the way, say, Airfix, for example, they'll highlight the part that you've just put on to say, hey, put this on next. But here we can see the intricacies that this kit has. It's got a full bloody interior. I mean, we've got oxygen bottles, fuel tanks, oil tanks. Is that a radio rack? I think from memory, the Flying Tigers, they were using radios off Cessnas or something because they didn't have radios. So yeah, you've got, like I said, a full interior. You've got a bit of photo etch going on in the cockpit. I'll just zoom along a bit because there's a lot to go through here. The fuselage sides. Okay, so what they've done here is like Hasegawa, but a bit smarter. The way they've engineered the fuselage and tail, because some later variants of the P40 from memory, correct me if I'm wrong out there, rivet counters, a very valuable part of the hobby to tell us what's what. They have different tails and different empennage. This is the French term, I love that word. Different tails, different rudders for different versions. So what they've done here, obviously, is they've engineered it so that you can clip them on later on. Whereas Hasegawa, from memory, they actually did a vertical cut right down the middle of the fuselage, and if you watch Bill Patterson's build, it can be a real pain to get that looking just right. So this is well done at first glance. We've got small photo. Oh no, it's not hinges. They're photo etch sort of parts to go on the. Oh yeah, on the inside of the tail planes. That's real interesting, and some more for the trim tabs as well. Oh, get it in camera, Chris, so people can see what you're talking about. Some very fine details there. This is very high quality. Moving on to the wing, and it looks like, you know, simple structure of the wheel wells, which are very from memory. I think the P40s they skinned the wing and then they literally cut holes in the underside to get the landing gear. And I believe that's how it happened. But like I said, I'm not that au fait with the P40, but man, this is just looking really well. Let's have a look. The thing I really look for in most aircraft model kits is, are the flying surfaces posable? Ailerons are separate, and they're not two-piece, they're one-piece. Thank you very much. So they look like they can be posed. So if you want to have the aircraft banking in flight, you can have the ailerons, excuse me, done properly. God, we've got a lot of. Oh, that's the joystick. Okay, so we got more cockpit parts here to the floor of the wing. I believe that's correct. Whoa. Okay, so we have full photo etch flaps. So you see this Penny? Oh my God, she's over there huffing and puffing still. That's amazing. That's just, yeah, I'm not doing that. Is there an option? Just, yes, there is. Woohoo. Okay, there's a plastic option here for fully closed flaps. But there you go. You've got, wow. Okay, don't need to go to Edward. You obsessive modelers like doing your planes on the ground. You don't need to get extra photo etch for the flaps, because look how many pieces there are. Unbelievable. Alright, so we put the fuselage on the wing, and the wing roots are separate. That'll be interesting to see how well that fits. So I'll have a look at that. The seat goes in after you put the cockpit in. See that down there? That's interesting. Okay. We've got more fuel lines and other parts here. Wow, this is extremely well detailed. I mean, you could easily do, if that's your want, a factory floor diorama and have this thing half built, and it would not look out of place. You wouldn't have to do much or any modifications at all. Okay, so moving on to the landing gear, and we have decals. I remember they painted this symbol on the landing gear. We've got photo etch on the inside of the landing gear doors. Now, from memory, from the side box art, yes, you can open or close them. So, hello, Doris. Look at that. It's designed for closed landing gear. There we go. You're growing in my estimation, Great Wall Hobby. Thank you very much for us aircraft modelers who do things in the air. And there you go. So you can have separate landing gear. Now, I wonder, can you actually do that? Are there enough parts so you can make two lots? Because one way to do it, and something I have tried before, is you build the aircraft wheels down for a competition, have it on the competition table next to everybody else, and then take that off and put the wheels up and hang it in your display cabinet how you really want it. Now, can you do that? I'm just going to have a quick look. Talk amongst yourselves while I have a quick look at this. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, the wheels are separate. The what about the E56? E55, okay, so the landing gear parts are different. I wonder if there's enough. L2, yeah, you could build. I think maybe that base plate there is common to both of them. I'm gonna have a look at that a little bit later, but I think you can build this in both formats. Anyway, moving on to the engine now. Hang on. What are they doing there? Ah, there we go. You can build the plane without building the engine. Interesting. They've got separate exhaust stacks, and these cowls come together onto the firewall with two struts there. Okay, so you can have a full engine. Right. Interesting. And you've got different variations for the flaps if you want to have the in camera, Chris. You want the flaps open, but then we get to, well, look at this. A full-scale Allison engine. Look at those parts. This looks very impressive indeed. This reminds me of the Merlin engines and the Tamiya 132nd Spitfire and Mustang kits. Wow, that's superlative detail. If that all goes together, oh my God, we're still going. 4 pages. Okay, I wonder how many of these are going to be built and put next to the aircraft itself. 6 pages. Jesus, excuse my French. You got everything under the sun. Now that's interesting. They're starting to bring in the colour callouts. I wonder why they're doing that. They didn't do it beforehand. just to make sure you put it in the right spot, I guess, because that's, you know, it's a big 3D object we're talking about here. And you've got photo etch. It looks like that's for the throttle bodies, and you get a so that's what that big, what size? What's square? Can't think of it. I'm just gobsmacked at the detail. So yeah, you can have this to the side. That's really interesting. Okay, so there we go. That's where the magnets are. Very interesting. So there's another option. You can have the fully detailed engine built, or you can have the cows without an engine. You can swap them in and out. Oh man. Hey Bill, I don't think you're getting this back, mate. I might buy you one and send it to you. This looks amazing. Okay, so we've got the last things to do is the access hatch, so you can actually see inside, because all that's going to just disappear. The side of it. I mean, yeah, the full interior stuff on the inside. I'm struggling to come up with a reason. I mean, they've tried everything else within the kit. The way they've engineered it so far, that you have all these options to see the engine, see the landing gear, and so forth. But maybe they should have added, I mean, you know, it's a superlative kit so far, but maybe another option was to have removable whole panels on the side of the fuselage so you can see that. We've got canopy masking, and then they've done internal and outside, which is good. Did I actually show that? There we go. Okay, there's the masking. Final page is, now, again, I will put my oar in the water. Every kit should have one of these. If you're selling an aircraft model, it should have a pilot, and this looks like a really well detailed pilot, and you've got 3 options for posing him. That's fantastic. So every kit should have one of these. I don't care what scale, I don't care who makes them. You should have a pilot sitting on his seat, on his parachute, ready to go, because we're building aircraft models. But you don't have to put him in there because there's photo etch. So far I'm blown away. Let's go on and have a look at the parts. Decals, decals, transfer stickers, I don't know what you want to call them. Let's just call them what they are, and that's a bit of paint captured on paper. Okay, so what we have here are the Great Wall Hobby decal sheets. There's 3 of them. They say they're made in China. There's no sort of saying, oh, it's Cartograph or what have you. And they are a little bit thick. They're not Tamiya thick or Hasegawa thick. They are just slightly, if I drag my fingernail very light, you know, over them, there's a little bit of thickness there. Not too much of an issue, because if you can see that in the reflection, there's barely any carrier film. So that's really good. So once you put the decals down and then build up, you know, to seal them in, put a few matte or gloss coats over them and sand them down, you'll have nice, flat, well-made decals. And so they look really good. You've got a lot of options, and the colors are quite vibrant, and I can't see anything out of register. The red and whites of these lovely ladies look fantastic. And yeah, all the I can read most of the stencils hands off. There's no sort of Chinglish. I don't mean that as a derogatory term, but I mean, you know, sometimes English is not translated correctly, but it looks like I can't see anything misspelled, so that looks good so far. Let's have a look at the shark mouths, and these look fantastic. So we've got, there is a bit of carrier film so on the inside of them, so you just got to be careful when applying those. I would be tempted to use a mask, but those look quite nice to start with. And then we've got the roundels, so there's different types here, and I believe these ones are actually for the wheels. And then there's the Chinese Air Force ones, and the RAF roundels, that's nice and flat. Is the colour a bit off, or is it just me towards the edges there? I'm not sure. This sort of size, and it's a circle, you could just make a mask set. Some of these more advanced sort of shapes use the decals, but like I said, the carrier film is just disappears, so that should be no problem to put down. The clear parts come in a nice protective box here, okay, and there's also some other 3D printed things inside. And yeah, very interesting way that they've molded these on the sprue. We've got not tiny attachment points, but not large either. They're not Airfix size, and the clarity is pretty good. Can you see on the cutting board? There's a little bit of distortion there, but not much. And then on the main frame there is looking, you're getting distortion because there's 2 layers there, but that is clear as a bell. The other thing you get within the kit, and it does come with the kit, is the ability to put on some 3D printed barrels. So it says there to cut that piece off, and then you get these. I'll leave that up there. Can't really see them. The detail looks fantastic, and yeah, I mean, it's another. Is it a gimmick? Do you really need this sort of thing? Is it better to go for brass barrels? But you know, it's an interesting inclusion. You can't see much from here, but yeah, it looks like the perforations are actually going all the way through. So you don't have to use it, but it's, you know, it's an interesting option. Here's the photo etch or PE sheets, and they're quite thin, covered with a reflective, protective I should say, but it is reflective layer of plastic that you have to peel back. And yeah, look at all those flaps, those flap actuators. Hang on, the camera's not liking that. I'll just got to keep it steady. There we are. And that looks like, it looks like you can build up the seat part. I think, did we skip that bit in the instructions? Photo etch seat belts there that aren't too bad. They're nice and thin, so they should be easy to manipulate. And then we have the grills for the engines, which are done lovely as well. If you're a bit hesitant about using photo etch, just these ones alone should be enough to get the extra detail, because some of these parts, some of them are they too. There's a few small pieces in there, but I'm glad they include them, because trying to replicate some of the stuff in plastic can be a bit daunting. You also get these rubber squeezy wheels, but I'm pretty sure that there's plastic ones in the kit. Let's finally have a look at the plastic. If you would have handed me this sprue and said, "What do you think of this, Chris?" I said, "Oh yeah, it looks like a really nice new kit from Tamiya," because put your finger on that and it's just gloss smooth plastic. The mold has been polished. There's no imperfections there as I do that, apart from, oh, can you hear that? bit of ribbing for your pleasure. There's raised rivets where appropriate, and they're petite and fine, and the flush rivet is just, you probably can't even see that I'll zoom in to show you in a minute. This is beautiful. And this structure here, I'm going to zoom in and show you. These parts look fantastic. Oh, here's the seat. So there's the seat part there. Let's zoom in. So you can see the parts here are fantastic. Underneath the cockpit bottom there, and the raised rivets here along the wing. If I go along to the lower wing, we've got a similar sort of surface structure there. And you can see the very, very small flush rivets there are done beautifully well. I mean, again, you would think this is Tamiya. In terms of attachment points, they make sense. They're small, they're enough. I'm just going to flip this over and see if they use undercuts yeah, they do. So just here on the leading edge of the wing there, it's an undercut, so there's less chance of you digging away that side of the wing. Although some of these, that's a massive attachment, that's an Airfix attachment point, that one is. You've got to be careful with that one. So it's not 10 out of 10, but it's darn close to it. That's an amazing bit of engineering, and yeah, and I just can't get over how smooth that is. It's just beautiful. All right, let's keep going. Similar style of polished molds and very well done detail for the fuselage halves. As I mentioned in the instruction bit, they're very smartly engineered, so the tail of the rudder comes as a separate piece, so we could be seeing different molding. I'll just flip this over and see. This might be a generic molding, because they don't give any sort of indication on the up here on the label. And the rivets are just petite. I mean, I thought these flaps didn't have rivets on until I actually looked at them closely, and I'm like, yep, there they are. So let's zoom in and have a look. So can you see that? See the rivets there? Yeah, this is a very top quality kit, and you know, for the price what you pay, I mean, it looks like what you're getting. You're getting your money's worth. It's absolutely fantastic quality. So there's that hatch that should be recessed, and it is, which is good. And I can't see any sink marks or any flash or any problems. The attachment points make sense. I'm going to flip this over just briefly, and then there's the inside of the fuselage there, looking good. And again, we've got the overcuts for the sprue gates there, so that allows you to make sure you don't chump away too much stuff. There's the inside of the flaps where you have to put all that photo etch, and that's all raised rivets. Wow. So for those of you who like posing down, it's going to look very nice indeed. Moving on to the dozen or other sprues that seem to come with this kit. And we've got the engine cowls at the front, and prop and a few other parts here, and I can't see any problems apart from if I flip this over and you look on the inside of the engine cowls there are a series of ejection pin marks and they're all recessed. So that's not an issue if you're going to close that up, and it may not be an issue if you've got an engine behind it, but if you're going to be posing these separately, those will need to be filled. I don't think that's as big a problem as it looks. Everything else looks fantastic, and I'll just move on to the tail surfaces and some of the flying surfaces. And we've got on this sprue, we've got that hump in the middle. We've got the canvas bag for the tail wheel, looks fantastic. The fabric covering on the is that the elevators? No, that's a different. Oh no, that's the elevators and that's the rudders. It doesn't look exaggerated, if you can see that catching the light there. Okay, that looks quite good, as does, well, there's the rudder. Okay, all looks nicely restrained, but you know, high fidelity, high quality. I mean, if you compare the Trumpeter P40B tailplanes with this one, it's night and day. Those rivets are correct in scale and not too many of them. The landing gear well, is it supposed to be that sort of rough texture there on that side? Or so maybe that's what it looks like on the inside of the landing gear well. I'm not too sure. Don't ask me about landing gear. I have no idea because I usually close it up. You probably can't see the parts because they're just so fine. These are the two sprues with all the fuel lines and all that sort of stuff. I'll see if I can get them, but yeah, they're amazing quality. And just so fine. The attachment points are really well done, but I would suggest you invest in a pair of, particularly for things like this here, I would invest in a pair of guide hands or DSPAI sprue cutters, because some of these parts are tiny as, and a lot of them are going to end up on the floor. But that's just amazing quality. Let's look at this sprue, K, with more lines, and we've got a multi-part here for, I think that's injector points. Can you see that? It's just amazing quality. That's fantastic. We're definitely talking Tamiya quality here. Got a duplicate sprue, so there's two of these, and it's the guns and different firewalls, so you can display the engine or have it closed up. And yeah, the detail is fantastic. I think that's the wheel hubs. The wheel hubs look fantastic. The prop hub has even got, that's got detail and knurling on the actual prop shaft itself. So yeah, this is an outstanding kit. I can't fault it so far. I mean, I'm actually itching to build it. So here is the engine sprue. Well, there's two engine sprues, I believe, but that's just, this is Tamiya Merlin quality. I can't say anything else. We've got superchargers, we've got valve covers, we've got cylinder heads and so forth, and yeah, there's that jig or the stand you can display the engine on. So this is amazing quality. Just flip that over there just to see what we've got. I can't see any ejection pin marks in any of the wrong spots. All the parts are extremely finely well done. I'm just going to zoom in so you can have a closer look. I mean, that's the whole point of watching a review like this, isn't it? You want to look at the parts. You want to see, is that for me or not? And that's just, look at that. It'd be criminal to build this kit and not build the engine and have it on display separately. And in fact, it's something that I've said a couple of times before. I reckon model companies should just release this sprue. Stuff like this, this is perfect. I mean, wouldn't you buy, if you just wanted to build an engine, wouldn't you just buy that as a kit? It's got a stand, maybe you have a propeller as well. Wingnut Wings used to do that. You could actually buy the individual engine sprues because that's a model in of itself. Here's the cockpit sprue. We've got separate sidewalls there, and I'll have to zoom in because you need to see this detail. You just need to see it. Have a look at that instrument panel. You're zooming in there, camera. So the dials have a 3D effect on them already. So once you put that decal on and you put a bit of acrylic gloss or something on there, it's going to look fantastic. You do not need an aftermarket, I don't think you do, instrument panel, just some careful painting and you'll be fine there. And with those decals, they give you individual decals for the instruments. So yeah, looking around, and there's the gun breeches that are separate, so you can have for the cowl, I believe. And we've got parts here as well. I mean, yeah, I can't fault Great Wall Hobby. You've done a magnificent job, fellas and ladies. I'm just going to flip this over to see if there's any ejection pin marks in the wrong spots. So there are some ejection pin marks here on these landing gear doors, but they're raised. So with a fiberglass pen or a skinny stick, you should be able to remove those. And there are other ejection pin marks, but they're hidden in the construction, so that's no problem. Alright, let's get to the final sprue, which is one I'm most interested in. Now, I may be a stuck record on pilots and aircraft in flight, but you got to give thumbs up to Great Wall Hobby to include a fully seated pilot in its kit. And yeah, it's what the advantage of that is, of course, is they've engineered it to actually sit with on his parachute inside the kit seat, which for a lot of us modelers who like to put our pilots in and they're not included in a lot of kits these days, it can sometimes be a pain. Further to that, one of the great things what they've done here, you can see 3 arms. I know he's not a Martian with 3 arms. He's got on his left hand, his right arm, he's got the control stick molded in. Look at that. So all you have to do is cut off the other control stick, or maybe it's engineered that way. I'll have a closer look actually. It's already done for you, so that's a great option. Or you can have his, we've got 2 different left arms. The face is pretty good. It's not resin quality, but it's good enough. I might swap it out for a different one, but yeah, this is a fantastic effort here by Great Wall Hobby, and I wish that they would, manufacturers would include that in every single kit. It makes my life, and I guess a lot of guys out there, lives easier. But for the rest of you, there's photo etch seatbelts in the kit, so if you don't want to have a pilot, no problem at all. 3, 2. I know this review is taking a long time, but I'm so enamored with this kit, I really want to get into it, and I've had another closer look, had a cup of tea and just, settled myself down. I got too excited. And when I'm going to conclude here with these duplicate sprues, I guess you could say. Yeah, we've got sprue G. So there's 2 lots of G, and you think, oh, why is that? Well, there's 2 firewalls. They give you extra machine guns, actually. And there's 2 base plates for the gear wells, the outside gear wells, why this aircraft is engineered, and 2 prop hubs. And yeah, a lot of duplicates. Now, the reason they've done that, I think I've described that in the instructions before, is it allows you to pose the landing gear, because this is the main base plates for the main landing gear, both up and down, okay? So you can actually, and I'll just flip this over because I saw another chap do this, you could replace these pegs, these male pegs here on these landing gear bases with magnets if you want, easily, 1mm or 2mm wide magnet. And yes, you can swap, you can change the way the aircraft is posed. You can build it wheels up, and you can build wheels up because they give you the wheels up wheels here. Okay, these are halves. Then they're supposed to be like that, so you only see this one on the outside. Or with the vinyl wheels, you can build it wheels down. Further to that, because of the 2 firewalls, and again, they've already done it with magnets in the back. See that big slot, big circle there? You can build the complete engine and have it on display attached to the aircraft with no cowls, or whip that out. And because it's got the prop shaft assembly on there, you can then attach the nose again without the engine. The engine is inside but not really there. Again, wheels up, wheels down, or just you can have the engine separate. Further to that, I've done more exploratory sprueologies, and check out this sprue. It's got 2 sets of flaps. Okay, one set of flaps can be put in, so the flaps are up. So usually when they're parked, they're up anyway, but the other set of flaps, the ones with the dodgy, not dodgy, I should say, the daunting photo etch, and look at that beautiful raised rivets all the way along there. So again, you can actually pose it, and it looks like, I saw somebody else click in these tabs here. You can pose it wheels, flaps up, flaps down. So isn't that amazing? You've got a kit here that you can have in any pose you want. And that really, it's so well done. I mean, I do harp on about I wish kits were a lot simpler, but these sort of options are fantastic, and I've got to applaud Great Wall Hobby for what they've done. Well, there we go. I've finished the review, and if you've looked at the new intro, you'll find that, yeah, I was intending to do a small build review on this, cut the wings off, cut the fuselage off, put the nose together, see if it fit together okay, but I became so enamored with this kit, I needed to do it myself. I needed to do a full build, and so I want to do that on camera. I just don't want to do a basic dry fit here, and I'll make that a part 2, part 3, and so whatever later on. For those of you who don't want to see that and just want to know, should you go out and buy that kit straight away? Well, yeah, you should, if you can afford it. I mean, this thing is bloody expensive. $175 I paid for this one, Australian. And yeah, you might do better when some, some vouchers come around or some sales come around. But the thing of it is, Great Wall Hobby could have made this kit a lot cheaper if they'd, got rid of some of those sprues, the pilot sprue, for example. Can't believe I say that, but get rid of that. Get rid of the internal bits because you just don't see them. Get rid of the engine sprues and just have the attachment, just like Kotari are going to do with their Spitfire Mark 1. And a few other really expensive options that, I love them. They're fantastic with the glossy artwork and the full scale diagrams and everything else, and the cards and everything, all that sort of stuff. Maybe they're doing that. Maybe they plan to bring out a B grade version of this kit that's 20, 30, 40% cheaper. With most of the plastic, but not all the photo etch and not all the resin and the 3D printed stuff. That would be the smarter move. So maybe hold off if you're thinking about getting this kit and you got a bit of sticker shock, as they say. If you haven't built a 1/32 scale aircraft before, I wouldn't recommend this kit. It's a little bit too complex in terms of its sequence of putting together. You need to become more familiar with that before you tackle a kit like this. I would recommend a 132 Hasegawa, an older version, a year 2000 to 2005, so a Focke-Wulf or even one of these, a P40, something like that, something a bit simple. Basically, it's an upscale 148 scale kit, but you can get used to the size of the 132 and then tackle this. But in conclusion, I have to say, you could have put a Tamiya sticker on the corner of this box and I would have gone, yeah, this is a Tamiya kit. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. It's a sterling effort by Great Wall Hobby. And I really hope that they stick around, unlike Kitty Hawk and some other manufacturers have gone down this route of trying to make a super complicated 1/32 scale kit for us. But yeah, I'm just so excited. I really want to get stuck into this, but I've got some other projects on the go that have to be done. And until next time, you'll see this again, but I should have a few parts together. But thanks for watching. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Have a great day and happy modelling.